I try to get my creative juices flowing,
Brandon, right?
Yes.
Brandon, okay.
Sir. Are we rolling? Are we good?
Good to go.
Oh, shit. We've been rolling. Well, welcome back. To you. You guys, we've been posting nonstop, but we actually haven't filmed for like a month, right? It's been a month since we haven't filmed. You've been gone. What you been up to?
Dude, filming. You've been more gone than me.
I have been more gone.
Yeah,
but
filming stuff.
Filming a movie.
Yeah, filming a movie. We went up to the forest in Santa Cruz.
Oh yeah.
Which is really cool. But yeah.
Can't speak much about it. It's
kind of a little bit on the low.
On the low, but that's dope. Yeah. And then I've been out. Just came back from Brazil, New York, and Miami, which was dope. So we just haven't been we haven't been in this garage in a minute.
Dude, yeah.
But we know we had to come back with a heavy hitter. This man is a legend already. Been a legend. My mentor since I was like 10 years old. 10, right? I think so.
I don't remember the kids' ages when I go in and you know
True.
what I mean? When I work with all the little boys out there.
Yeah, but
I'm not allowed to say that. Am I going to get canceled right away? What kind of pod is that? Who's your
we don't. Honestly, we've said some
Just
things.
in case your parents are watching. Hi,
Oh,
Mr.
yeah,
and Mrs. Shepherd.
they watch, but hey, we say some questionable shit on here all the time. But we have the legend, the founder of Kinjaz, one of the founders, Anthony Lee is in the building, in the garage sessions.
Oh,
Thank you. Look at that.
We are here. It's been a minute. We've been trying to schedule this. I know you've been a busy man. But
I've just been ducking you. I've just been avoiding you.
That's okay.
Just playing video games, trying to stay home, trying to avoid driving. Gas is expensive. This is like 6 states away to get here.
It is. That's what I thought. That's why I wasn't like trying to press you.
I'm kidding, man. When you hit me up, I was like, dude, it's such an honor, Dill. You've been a great, great human being in my freaking whole life and my own journey as well. So it's dope to see that you guys are doing podcasts and, you know what I mean, getting your stuff out, your experiences. You are an experienced man for what I know about you. I just met you, but you look pretty experienced. I think the facial hair says it.
Is that right?
You know what I mean?
Thank you.
But no, really, it's an honor to be here. I'm thankful.
No, thank you, man. Like what you said, though, you've been a huge part of my life as well, knowing you since I was 10. But, man, it's time. For me, it felt like, I know you guys are already doing your thing and stuff, and a lot of the choreographers I work with, but, like, this was a podcast for sure. I wanted to, like, shed some light on, like, just give flowers to people that I think that deserve it for sure, 100%. So you're obviously one of the first guys to hit up.
Thank you.
Yeah, but
so what's this podcast about? What do we talk about, huh?
We were talking about you, man. What you been up to?
Talk about the secrets.
Yeah, talking about your secrets. What you been up to lately, though?
So the secrets are you wake up every morning, you take an ice bath. After that, you meditate, and then you journal.
For how
long? And then
long?
you drink tea.
Okay.
And then after that, nobody gives a shit.
You got a morning routine?
Hell no.
No?
If I wake up, I'm like, shit, made it home.
Made it home. That's
still alive.
That's the only thing.
Thank you. I start with gratitude. That works, right?
Oh, there you go.
Like, still good.
You're still
no,
here.
man.
What you been up to, though?
Oh, my gosh. How do I not repeat anything that maybe other people have come on here and said? Life has been just, I feel like every year life is crazy. I'm not going to be like, yo, life has been wild and pretend like life hasn't been wild for like the last decade. I just think in an unconventional lifestyle, every year, every chapter, every season, every gig or stage, every collaboration or new network opportunity or business partnership, like they're all new. You know what I mean? There's no routine anything to it. It's just this giant chaotic, just fucking, I don't know. You're always just kind of, I always imagine you're just shaking up like a magic 8-ball and you're just seeing how life's going to go, you know?
See what happens.
But I like to say life, as much as it's been super volatile and exciting and new things happen all the time, I like to say that, especially with Kinjaz when we were starting and whatnot, all the way up until, I would say, the pandemic, I feel like that magic 8-ball would always shake up into another stage of higher fortune, and just building and growing and stuff like that. But ever since the pandemic, I feel like a lot of adapting and changing everything that we had built prior has been happening. So I feel like, and it's so weird to think that people even still, maybe talking about the pandemic's like hacky now. It's been like 8 billion podcasts later and people are like still bringing it up. It's like whack, you know what I mean? But
it was a huge part, though. I feel like, especially
I think
in our
it's
industry
important.
too.
Yeah, super important to bring up. I always like compare the pandemic to like Thanos' snap, right? Everybody just kind of exited this like time vortex, right? You start seeing people that like, oh, I actually haven't seen you in like 3 years. Like, I just posted up a video of a class I just taught, and that was my first class international in over 3 years. Wow. Same thing, my first time back to Europe and Asia and stuff. So everything kind of feels like it's still like we just came back from the blip of the pandemic.
Like warming up.
Yeah, and you're trying to find out where your footing is because things have been lost, things have been changed. The world is different, the perspective's different, people have changed.
100%.
But at the same time, it's not like you were Spider-Man and you blipped and you came back and you're still in the same high school at the same age with the same people. Like, that doesn't work.
No, it just moves forward.
Yeah, like, everything moved forward. Like, you know, people shout out babies still. People, like, got married, you know what I mean? People lost, like, kin, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I feel like life has changed, and, like, it's just the last kind of major season or era of this time frame for myself personally has been a lot about adapting and trying to, like, get my bearings again and building momentum again, you know what I mean? If that makes sense. I know that's super broad, but like...
No, that definitely makes sense. We always talk about that, too, is like how did, like a lot of the guests, like how did they adapt or what was the challenges through that? And we've had quite a few different answers, too, surprisingly, is like some people love the pandemic, what it did, and then some people really like hated it. So like with that answer, like where did you stand?
Oh, I'd say double-edged sword for sure. Like, on the one hand, like, for anybody who maybe isn't familiar with Kinjaz, I'll give, like, a ever so, like, 30-second elevator pitch.
And if you aren't familiar with Kinjaz, like, that's really disappointing.
No. You know, people love what they love.
Hey, don't be humble now, bro. Come on.
We're a little old now, you know what I'm saying? Time vortex, you know?
That time vortex did something.
But, like, for example, before, right, and still, you know, definitely I think, you know, a lot of people know us as a crew, as a dance crew. People know that, you know, we did things like ABDC, went on NBC's World of Dance. We started, you know, opening up like dance studios that were crowdfunded. We started a clothing line. You know, we started a dance competition called Arena.
Yes, sir.
And then we kept on opening dojos. We started opening them in China. We opened up a big complex in Arts District in LA. And that was, I think, like one of the craziest things. We had this dream to just open like the sickest dance studio you ever seen in your life, and creative space as well, especially in the heart of LA. You didn't see a spot like that, especially as a hub for community dancers as well, you know. But the grand opening was right before Kobe died. And you remember when Kobe died is when everything just fucking went down.
It's crazy.
Right?
I think it's so funny, like when, not funny, but when Kobe died, for some reason I knew it was going to be a crazy
everything went down. Like, it was the worst thing to ever happen.
Yeah.
I swear, if Kobe didn't die, we'd all be fine.
Yeah, I think so too. I
totally.
think so too.
But you know, grand opening, grand closing, hashtag Jay-Z, right? Like, I think like that was a tough thing to like have to, and you know, when the pandemic happened, there were like dance studios and like gyms were like the last to open, non-essential business, you know, for at least the majority of what we did when it came down to like brand campaigns and like endorsements, like all that stuff got snipped during the pandemic. Like traveling and teaching or performing, snipped. Live stage performances or shows or whatever, out. Gone. Classes, teaching, whether traveling or at home, done. You know what I mean? So crazy. It's kind of like everything really changed for us, for everybody, but like in terms of our actual business and like the operations from a day-to-day perspective, flipped, completely flipped, right? But on the other hand, projects that we had kind of like always just kind of envisioned, like tinkering with, even though we had to focus on like a very larger dance conglomerate, things like building fucking noodles, like, you know what I mean? Like, we like just love noodles.
Gotta talk about
and
that.
Something that was kind of on a back burner suddenly, right? Remember in the pandemic, you like go to a grocery store and people was going crazy over shit like toilet paper.
Toilet paper was gone.
And
why?
The crappiest foods was just flying off the shelves. You couldn't go to a dance class, but you could buy like crappy food. Just in case the zombie apocalypse was upon us.
You never know. So crappy food is way more important than education and dance, I guess.
And you know, as basic as this realization is, like, you got to think about like what it is we do. Like, we love dance, right? Like, or at least from our conversation. Brandon, you a dancer?
I am not.
But some of us like dance, right?
He likes watching. He's
film dancers.
He films dancers.
There we are. Okay.
There you go.
But point is, even with dance in the world, like dance is really, really big and connects people. People who actually like work in the dance industry like as a job, that's already like a really small world, right? Then you think about like the niche of like what, like hip hop specifically, or like, you know, the street cultures.
Yeah.
That's an even smaller world. Then you think of like us little Asians in America who have like a more like martial arts ninja style of that like street style. Like we're talking niche on niche on niche on niche.
And then another niche.
Yeah, you know, and that's like the pool we play in.
Yeah.
And then you think about food and how everybody just has to eat every day. And you're like, all right, now we're talking about like kitty droplets and oceans and planets. We're talking about a galaxy versus fucking a pond, right? And it just clicked. When we couldn't do anything else, when our hands were like handcuffed behind our backs with dance, it was like, well, what else we got?
Yeah,
and so it like forced us to kind of like push into things like getting the noodles developed, something that we were like, this is a cool idea, turned into like, yo, this makes sense now. You know, so that's why I say double-edged sword, because there's gotta be the light at the end of the tunnel.
100%.
It can't just be that was bad.
End. Yeah.
Otherwise, that was bad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be like some, you know, altruistic wizard fucking teacher, but at the same time, like, otherwise it's just bad.
Yeah.
We have to have some sort of positive, and I think focusing a lot of our energy, being able to adapt and try to rally the troops, try to galvanize people's, you know, direction when people are lost, you know what I mean, during this time, 100%. And pointing them towards something that can seem like it has promise or productivity, or just to feel like you're accomplishing something when everything else is falling apart.
Yeah.
I think that was also, you know, it just comes with the territory.
Yeah.
Maybe our parents' generation had things like war. I mean,
Yeah.
I might take a global pandemic over like us being directly needing to, I don't know, get drafted. You know what I'm saying? Like my parents were immigrants from the Vietnam War. Like,
trying to come here.
I can't really complain about the shit that
100%.
I'm going through. You know what I'm saying? 100%. So it's like when you think generationally, it's like, all right, at the end of the day, you kind of got to pick up your pants and just do what you got to do, you know?
Exactly. And I think having that brotherhood or having some type of group of friends like to hold you up with that is also like another like go-to, like find your people.
Absolutely.
That's like the number one thing. Well, going back with Kinjaz, we talking Kinjaz already. I'm sure you already talked. There's a lot of already things you said like how Kinjaz came about, but let's talk about when Kinjaz came about. Did you have any idea it would become to this magnitude of what you guys are now? Like,
we just jumped the gun straight to like Dimension 12 when we were talking with Kinjaz. So we'd probably talk about it like a very, very baby thoughts. Yeah. It's been 12 years now.
I was there on your debut performance too.
You were there at Vibe 2010 when it wasn't even called Kinjaz yet. We called it Blue Black Ops. Yep.
That was crazy witnessing that. But
absolutely no. Short answer, no. Of course we didn't ever think it was supposed to be a thing. We were doing it because the best version, especially in that generation of like dance and stuff like that too, is like just figuring out a way to express yourself honestly was still something I think people were trying to figure out how to do in a public place.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we were so privileged to be part of this, like we didn't have crazy social media yet. Like YouTube was starting to like kick off and stuff, but like the idea of people being on their phones and sharing things all the time was like, it was this new budding concept. You know what I mean? We were still at like messaging. It wasn't so much at like, you know, everything was online right away. So I feel like we had this childlike freedom to just do shit. You know what I mean? So when we were putting together Blue Black Ops, that was, and I'm sure people who are like fans have heard this story like 1,000 times. But that was actually my exit from the dance community. That was my last performance.
I was gonna say that it was gonna be your.
Yeah, I was supposed to hang my shoes up and move to Arizona for a sales position.
Wow.
To run an office out there. I was part of this shitty sales company, but I was good. That's the problem. I was fucking good at sales.
That's the problem when you're Anthony Lee. You're just good at everything.
No, not everything. not seeing that you don't belong somewhere just because you're good at the thing in front of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I'm selling myself short. I'm pretty good. But you know, I was just good at it. So I was like, okay, I can run with this, you know. And it was, I got to this toxic place in my own self where everybody looked like a dollar sign. If you couldn't provide money for me for my time, like you were really just wasting my time for moving to the next person. It was no hard feelings. It was just kind of like
your mentality at the time.
And dance just was everything else. Dance was like the heaven compared to that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I remember we put on Black Ops even though it's going away, and I had a whole going away party. I had fucking cake and everything like that. We had a surprise party.
Shit.
And then we do this show. And then that Thursday, after we get this crazy standing ovation for this non-competitive show that we just slapped together on stuff that we like.
It was like a standing ovation. You see it like Cannes Film Festival and shit. Like 10-minute standing ovation. That shit was crazy.
I don't even remember who won that competition that year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
definitely the highlight, though.
But no matter how much I've competed or performed or whatever like that, that still, to this day, is probably my top best performance of all time.
Really?
And it wasn't about how good or, like, technical it was, but it was just that connection with the audience in that moment. Yeah, that feeling. So I remember being like, this is the greatest feeling in the world that I'm quitting to go do the not-so-greatest feeling in the world.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what I was doing, so that Thursday I just quit my job with no game plan.
Really?
And then it wasn't even to go back and turn Kinjaz into like this full force thing. It was just to not leave something, to go somewhere I shouldn't have been.
Where you don't feel
That's
like,
all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But it's good to have that.
Yeah.
Everything happens for a reason, and I think knowing with that performance, for sure, that's the performance you felt like definitely changed your perspective, your path.
Oh, hands down. That was
leap of faith.
Of faith.
That's like a lightning bolt, you know what I mean, to the chest, going like, chill, bro. Like, you don't know what you're doing. You fucked up. And God was like, nah, we're going to stop you there.
Damn. Do you
mean?
remember, like, was there a conversation after that performance with anyone in particular? Or, like, was there a conversation, like, saying, like, yo, I'm definitely not leaving? Or should I still leave? Or was it just that moment on stage, I'm definitely not leaving?
It wasn't even on stage. It was like, that painful and awkward silence of life, that nothingness, when you go back to work on Monday.
After the competition.
And all you're thinking about
is the
goosebumps from like where your life was just ended. In my mind, I just ended that part of my life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just like this. And in my mind, I'm getting ready, like the office is packing up.
Yeah, going to Arizona.
And it was politics too. It wasn't just like the dance. Like realistically, it's more romantic to say it was just a dance. Also, it was like kind of a shitty boss who wasn't really working all the time. And because I was the one who was killing it with the sales in her office, that's the reason why the office was dope. But if I would have left to get promoted, which was my thing, then everybody would leave with me. So her office would struggle, and she would have to get back and work. So she didn't want that. So she made up some bullshit stuff about how like I needed to like stay back for another extension. This is like the third time that they had held me back. So I already knew that this shit was just like corrupt, you know?
She made it easy.
Yeah. So literally that morning I was like, I'm done. There was no 2 weeks. There's no nothing like that. And I vividly remember I called my sister on the way home. I'm in my suit. I'm driving in my fucking manual stick shift Accord. Broke down hella hard.
That's all good.
And
you got the upgrade, though.
I did get a little upgrade.
Okay.
A nice little mom's soccer Jeep.
Okay, nice.
But I remember telling her and having no game plan and just feeling this sorrow, this like vulnerable, like it's been 2 years maybe plus since I graduated college. Now like I got no game plan and I just quit a job. I got nothing lined up. I feel like I fucked up. And I like kind of teared up just to my sister in the car by ourselves, you know what I mean?
That's the only time you can tear up.
Yeah, and I kind of felt like a failure, you know.
Really?
She's like, no, it's okay. You're going to be all right, you know. Yeah. And I just remember having such a high emotion on Sunday, having such a low emotion on Thursday. And then by Friday and Saturday, just saying, like, you either fucking do something about it or you just be a piece of crap and worthless.
Go home,
you know what I'm saying? So I was like, all right, fuck it. I was living in Riverside at the time. I was like, I'm going to start packing up. This is the end of the journey. I'm going to start moving back. I'm going to figure it out. I don't know what it is, but I'll figure it out.
Wow.
And you know, it's crazy. We were doing Kinjaz performances on the side.
During that time?
But still, like, all just... It was like always a joke. It was always just for fun. Like, all of us individuals who are on the squad were already doing other dance stuff or whatever. Yeah. So we came back to Kinjaz to just do fun stuff. that we wouldn't normally do in our quote unquote professional career. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta take your shit all serious and be an artist and stuff. But when we go on Kinjaz, we're like joking about like smoking weed, we're like jacking off on stage, we're drinking on stage, we're bringing our like white boy fraternity homies who have no business dancing but come on stage just party. Like we just wanted that space to be fun.
Yeah, have fun.
But people loved it, so they kept on trying to book us. So next thing you know, we're like, oh man, like people keep wanting to book us for Kinjaz and not for like our other stuff.
Our individual stuff,
So it's like, all right, I guess might as well. So it still wasn't serious. Not at all. You know what I mean? We didn't turn it serious until, oh man, I'll throw another juicy anecdote that not a lot of people know. We might have shared this before.
Every week you get exclusive stuff from Garage Sessions. Every week, I'm telling you. This is why he's here.
So then in like 2000... Well, in 2000, so that was 2010. In 2011, I started like working for some other stuff. You know, I like started picking my stuff up, trying to like just dance on the side. And then I get laid off. But also like me and my girlfriend of like 4.5 years breaks up. So I also have to move out of that apartment and move back home to my parents. So this is like my next lowest point ever.
Yeah, this is the lowest
felt like
one.
a loser.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, now I'm like 24, 25 or something like that. Moving back home to my parents. Heartbroken, jobless, you know. Thinking like, what did I do it
and
again?
And this is after you.
So this is like 2011 or something.
So this is after the Arizona. You said you're not going.
Yeah. That had I already started working, doing some other stuff, and trying to like find dancing, and we're just doing side jobs for Kinjaz, you know.
And then that happens.
Yeah. So then I'm back home, and then this was back then to get a job, you had to go on websites and shit like Monster.com. They didn't really do LinkedIn. LinkedIn wasn't popular yet.
Oh, scared the shit out of me.
See that, dude?
Oh, look at that.
That was Marley right there.
Yeah, no, Marley looked up and said,
oh, Marley's right there? Oh, we got Marley in the house. It's okay. This shit happens all the time.
So I remember just being like, you know, telling myself I got to go fix my resume. I graduated in like 2008, you know what I mean? It's like 3 years later. I'm trying to figure out how to put together a resume and shit again.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to apply for jobs. I'm like applying for jobs every day. You're just submitting your resume. This is just how people did stuff. Yeah. You called it for an interview. You go in for an interview. You know, and I went on like 3 or 4 interviews. And I remember this weird feeling, this weird emptiness, this shell of a human getting dressed up in business casual attire and going on these interviews. And I remember finally there was one time where I was in an interview. It was like the 3rd interview. This lady's looking at me. She's like, why do you want to work here? And then I like sat there for like a minute and I couldn't say anything. And I'm not a guy who like doesn't find words to say. I can talk my ass off. I'm a little bit obnoxious sometimes.
Hey, it's all good.
And I'm just lost. I'm like
lost for words for the first time.
And in my mind, the only 2 words that are coming to my head is I don't. But I'm like, you're not supposed to say that.
Did you say that?
No.
Oh, you should.
Because in my mind, the second words were like, you're not supposed to say that.
Oh, okay. So you had like the angel
so I'm just
and the devil,
I'm just arguing with myself in my head. And I'm probably like cross-eyed and shit like this. This lady's looking at me like, this is getting bad really fast, you know? And then I think all I say is like, I'm sorry. And I just boned it. Yeah, I just walked out. Damn. And I still had no game plan, but all I remember was this and I was just frustrated. There was no game plan. There was no catharsis from there. There was just frustration.
Yeah.
I go home, right? And I'm like, all right, I got to get back at it. Maybe I got to find a better job. And every single time I got super pissed off and like maybe slightly like heartbroken and depressed at the same time.
Of course, come on.
The only place I could escape to that gave me self-worth was like freestyling. So I'd be like in my socks, you know what I mean? Just like on the living room carpet. And I'd just start getting down.
Yep.
And sometimes I go for like 3 hours at a time, just like, you know, just
going
dancing.
crazy.
Maybe because I was avoiding. If I wasn't dancing, I had to go back to my figuring out what life is going to be. So
procrastination.
Yeah, you know, I was just avoiding it maybe, and, you know, and obviously you can't freestyle for 3 hours straight. So you start like creating, you start choreographing. I start getting into this flow of choreographing.
Okay.
One by one, people start realizing that I'm like still choreographing. You know, somebody will hit me up to come teach a workshop, and I'm talking like for $20 type stuff. You know what I mean? Like, but $20 when you ain't making nothing is doing shit. Everything.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
I remember I landed this Culver City. It was Your Neighborhood studio gig. Teach once a week, beginner, intermediate hip hop there.
Easy money
at like $20 an hour, and I said okay, and I would drive 30 minutes to go teach for 1 hour, to drive back 30 minutes to make $20. But I figured if I did that 4 times a month, that's like $80. That's my cell phone bill. I got something. You know what I mean? And I was like, while I'm still searching for jobs, right?
Yeah.
So I'm doing this whole thing. Next thing you know, just on the side, there's this momentum building that apparently I'm still a dancer and I create. And suddenly I'm getting a little bit better. Suddenly more people are hearing. They're trying to book me for a little bit more. So I remember when I got $30 for a class. I was,
$10 extra.
Bro, I like bought ice cream that day. You know what I'm saying? I was like, yo,
celebrate a little
it's
bit.
like next. And this is like 2011. People like don't.
This was not a thing really.
Yeah,
like,
you know, obviously you just keep your head down. You hustle. If people like know you or think anything about you, I'll tell you what, people thought. For my entire life, people thought more highly of me than what I've always ever been. You know what I'm saying? When it comes down to, I think, people's true notion of what success might be. But I was happy, so that didn't matter, you know? I guess that's in itself. But, like, that's literally how low-key Kinjaz was at that time. It wasn't a focus. Like, everybody was doing their own thing.
You guys weren't really considered, like, a team then? Like,
no, not really.
Would you just consider,
but people
like,
was
a project?
hiring us. And, you know what? A lot of Asian organizations, I think they needed champions. I think they needed to be like, yo, there's a dope group of Asians that are doing something for Asians.
They
you
just
know?
needed something.
So it was a lot of those
Empowering.
organizations that are trying to continually organize and bring us together. And here's that anecdote I was talking about. And so in 2012, Kinjaz actually, and nobody knows this really, that we were starting to potentially get ready to do ABDC.
In 2012?
2012. And this would have been, I think, the last season before they brought it back as the season of champions.
Oh, okay.
To do ABDC. This is season 7, I think. I believe Most Wanted Crew comes on this season.
Okay, yeah,
right?
that was with Ricky and all. That's when I was kind of
I don't know who else. A couple of
8 Flavors.
8 Flavors. Do you remember who? Were you on the show?
No, I mean, I grew up with Ricky. So
you was never on the show?
I was just always around those people and always at the show, like, taping the lives. But I was 8 Flavor. I think that's when Electrolytes won, no? I think that's when Electrolytes won.
Maybe. Yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah.
So we're getting ready to do this show. We didn't tell anybody. Producers are constantly hitting us up since, like, season 3 or some shit like that for no reason, or season 5. And we started getting ready to do the show. I'm talking, we even had maybe, like, a Korean barbecue meeting with some of the guys, to really talk about this, like iron it out.
Yeah.
And then like, 2 or 3 sessions of rehearsals, start vibing, start building like a flow that like wasn't about jokes on stage, it wasn't about dicks and stuff. It was about like,
like
what can we actually do as a dance group?
Yeah.
And just life happened. One thing led to another. Some guys had to handle this thing about life. Some other people had like emergencies.
Yeah.
And just for whatever happened at that timing, momentum kind of dropped. So we couldn't commit to it. So that was our chance where me and Mike were finally like, maybe we should kind of take this serious. And then once that fell off, we were like, fuck it. And then we went our separate ways again. We were always still like, again, odd jobs might bring us together. But like Mike had his career. He was killing it still. He was coming off of like stuff with Cabo Mater and his generation of ABDC.
Yeah.
He was still doing his solo stuff and killing it. Same with like Tony, all the guys, myself included. You know what I mean? I started to take my journey as well with the help of Mike because I had to like get back in it and he was killing it. And I was like, what should I do?
And you started,
you know what I mean?
Directing Offspring?
I did. I started directing, community teams, just kind of get back into the groove of it, find a flow, both in leading, teaching, creating, vision beyond just like the 8 counts, but like trying to put sets together, working in group dynamics. I started just kind of training myself in that space, shooting videos. I started going crazy on YouTube.
You did.
I told myself that if I couldn't subjectively be better than somebody, I could maybe objectively work harder than them. I had this stupid rule. I was obsessive back then. If I saw somebody, because Instagram just started popping off too. If I saw somebody at like Disneyland or having a good time on Instagram, I told myself I had to get up and create a routine.
Oh, really?
So I remember seeing like peers during my generation. If I saw them like celebrating their successes, it was this obsessive nature for me to get up and choreograph.
Interesting. That's
so it's
dope.
always, I told myself, just go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you're good, just go. One thing led to another. I started traveling, started teaching, you know what I mean? Started meeting other like-minded, more people that would eventually become Kinjaz in the future, you know, years and stuff like that.
Yeah.
One thing led to another. We started actually bringing them onto the squad.
It's crazy.
The crew's growing, the notoriety's growing, the videos are getting high. People are like constantly trying to book us. We're doing random odd jobs here. And then ABDC rolls back around again, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Before that, even in 2014, things started picking up to a point. And me and Mike's solo careers, we kind of got tired of doing everything solo.
Yeah.
I remember having just realizations too. It was like, I hurt my back and stuff like that, so I couldn't teach a class. So I had to talk it, and Mike had to teach it for me as a body.
Dope.
We were in France.
That's
and
so
just getting
dope.
that feeling like, yo, man, if Anthony Lee goes down, what the hell's the Anthony Lee brand? You know what I mean? And just not having as much fulfillment from that concept of a legacy.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. I know a lot of people do their individual
100%.
thing, but just wasn't as fulfilling. So I remember me and Mike were like, all right, we got to change it up. We should do, you know, something that has like a posthumous legacy, you know, something that's bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
And so we're like, let's make Kinjaz official. So we formalized it as a business at the end of 2014. And then we found out about ABDC in 2015. That's when we did that.
And that's when it skyrocketed, really.
And then that's when things just
start the ball rolling.
Yeah, the momentum just kept going. But there was a couple times where like, should we? Nah.
Really? What was one gig, or not? You don't have to say this specifically, but what year maybe, or something that you were like, and then you said nah.
This is funny. I don't know if we ever talked about this either. For example, we used to always perform at like Vibe, right? I'm a Black Ops. Like we would just never like tell. I would always tell Jason. Jason's one of the Kinjaz too. He's executive director of Vibe and stuff.
Yeah, Jason's a man.
I would always be like, yo, never tell people that we're coming to Vibe. Oh. And you hate us for that because it's like, why would you? That's the marketing.
Yeah,
you want, you know.
marketing,
but I'm like, hey, no. Like we've always had that relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like we was created until we started partnering with Vibe.
Later on. But I remember the lineup would come, like the competition lineup would come maybe like a month or 2 months before it actually happened.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be till later that you find out that we'd be there and stuff. But that was not because we thought we were dope. That was like, yo, if we want to really entertain people, we should always lower their expectations. Like, it was never about, you know what I mean? It was just like, dude, we got to set ourselves up for success. We'd always be strategic. We'd be like, no, we don't want to close the show. When you close the show, everybody's all antsy, tired. You just saw chances are it was just the winner from last year. So it's like you're talking about top, and it's not about being better, but like their whole life is on the line. This is a side gig for us, you know.
Exhibition.
Not to saying we don't care about it as much, and you know, people are antsy. They're waiting for the like judges' results to see who won. Parents are over it. Like we gotta set ourselves up, but we don't always want to close the first half because the same thing, you know what I mean, right before the break. So it's like, do you want to close the first half or do you want to open the second half? Like it was always trying to be as strategic as possible because we want to have fun with it and we want to just entertain people, right?
Yeah.
And I remember there was one year we did this show called Knights of the Round Table.
Knights of the Round Table.
Yo, first off, everything,
At Vibe?
everything that could have went wrong in our minds went wrong.
During the performance?
Just everything, even the week of, like the costumes, like
what went down?
Like for example, like costumes, like they were dope, but they were all too small. So like, you know, when something's too small on you, even if it's a dope piece, it's not a dope piece.
You're like dancing in it too.
And you like better be buff too, but like none of us was really like buff or nothing. You know what I mean? It was like Asian little fucking nerds and stuff, you know? So just things wasn't just looking good, and just the way things played out. Some of our jokes, like, you know, sometimes you get too comfortable and like, you know, things get a little too far. It was just that show for us. So that's like the only community show that like we did that we took offline.
Oh, so you can't even find it?
You can't find it.
Wow.
That's the only performance that like we took offline. That was another one of those like to even build that show, we kind of started trying to take it more serious. And we're like, we started pulling out bells and whistles, you know what I mean? Trying to like, but it just, sometimes it doesn't work.
Sometimes it doesn't work,
Sometimes it don't work. And I remember after that, like, nobody had to say it, but you know when momentum just kind of dies?
And everyone's just like, Yeah, that
And out of
happens.
respect for each other as friends, you don't really talk about it, but you gotta I gotta go do my own thing for a bit. You know what I mean?
you gotta part ways slightly a little
Yeah,
bit.
it wasn't like that terrible, but like for us, it was terrible. It's like
God
among the
damn.
worst. You
All right,
know,
I gotta
so
persuade you. We gotta see somehow. I gotta see that.
It
Yeah,
won't
I'm too
happen.
curious.
I'm
now.
too
It won't
curious.
happen.
Nah, that's crazy.
Me and Tony Chan choreographed this tango routine that was like, you know, obviously it was totally like, you know, about just that gay tension, you know what I mean, between all straight dudes.
And you
just
guys
like-
obviously don't do tango.
Yeah, obviously we don't do tango. Obviously,
no, you guys.
I had to choreograph to it for.
No,
an
you guys
artist
are
before,
champions
but-
at tango.
But
That's
yeah,
so
so
fucking
it was just
funny.
one of those. It's hella funny. Just a lot of this, you know, people maybe from the outside maybe see this, which from a macro, like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
true, right? It's like the fucking S&P 500 of the stock market, right? When you
Yeah,
zoom out year over year, you're like,
yeah.
okay, cool, 10% is cool,
Yeah,
right?
you gotta put more money.
Yeah, but there's a lot of this
sure.
every single
For sure.
time.
And I
every
feel like if
story.
there wasn't this, you guys wouldn't be as successful as you guys are now.
yeah,
Or in any standpoint, I feel like if there is no roller coaster, trial and errors, then you wouldn't be where you guys are now.
that's how it is, man. That's how it is.
But going back, what was one moment in the beginning where you and for you guys that don't know, Mike Song is the other founder of Kinjaz. When was the moment you guys, because you said you guys didn't take it seriously until you make it a business in 2014, but was there a performance? Was there a rehearsal? Was there even a cookout where you guys like?
So actually, the main thing. So after we had like come to this idea and this conclusion, one of the biggest things was obviously John Shee, right? You guys know John Shee. He is the brain behind Vibrancy.
Yes, sir.
One of the co-creators and or co-owners of Kinjaz as well. He's just like me and Mike's like. Just he's in there with me and Mike. Me, Mike, and John. We've always just like done it together, you know. He was working at World of Dance at the time, and so first we needed to like low key poach him. You know what I mean? Because if we were gonna do this, and John was like a close friend, so it wasn't. You know, it was. We've always been talking about these dreams. You know what I mean? But one thing led to another. Everybody was doing their own thing at the time. So when we finally came together, we had some meetings at our house. We called Bangoria in Monterey Park back in the day. And we kept on talking about this dream, this idea to like turn Kinjaz into something bigger and better and greater. And we had the vision. Everybody saw it in their own way. We just needed to free ourselves up to do it. So I remember like straight up at the time, in order to even like respect John, you know, for who he was and what he had to do and to even leave World of Dance, me and Mike had to poach him from World of Dance and pay him from me and Mike's personal money because we didn't have the business yet. So like personally, me and Mike were paying a dude out to like come join our venture and turn that into something. Because we knew the second we had John, we would be able to do everything. It wasn't just about dance; it was the whole vision, right?
Yeah.
We needed somebody who, beyond the videographer, he's like designed our clothing, he's designed our
really?
logos.
I didn't even
you know what I mean?
That's
the artistry, like when you think about Kinjaz, you don't just think about like routines. You see like
the brand,
a lot of things. You know what I
The
mean?
whole thing.
Everything he built so much of that, you know, with us. So once we got him, we knew that we also needed kind of some sort of giant life experience to kickstart it. You know what I mean? It's like you don't just go into the Olympics. You have to have the opening ceremony that brings every, you know, nation together in one room. Every newscaster, everybody's tuned in to build the energy so that every athlete that's there is like
pumped.
Oh, you don't just go into the first sport, right?
Yeah, ready to go.
So same thing. We were like, what can we do to set that for us? What life experience? And me and Mike had this gig to like teach and perform at this university in New York.
Okay.
And John's from New York, right? So we was like, hey, what if we perform at this gig, but then instead of flying back, we use the budget from the travel and we rent a van and we drive back and we just go cross country. Yeah, and we was like, okay,
That's an
like let's
experience.
kind of think about this. Let's talk about it. Let's plan it out. We told our parents. I remember telling my dad, and even my dad, it's like at first I didn't know if he would get it, being a traditional ass like old Asian man that he is. But I feel like I had, like, it was one of those few moments in my life where I like got him. I'm like, you always want to do that shit, didn't you? You know what I mean? Because it seemed like he was like, okay.
He's like, okay with it? Yeah.
Like, kind of like, oh, yeah, you should do that. But, like, he would never encourage me.
Admit it.
Like, my dad would never, verbally encourage me, you know what I mean? That's not the seafood way, you know what I'm saying? He'll beat the crap out of me if I mess up. But if I do something good, he'll just stay silent, you know what I mean?
He doesn't want to tell the truth.
Yeah, it's a game of fucking up. That's all. There's no wins.
No.
But I could tell that I was like, oh, this is some righteous, like, things. This is something that a human being should experience, especially an American.
Yeah.
So we do it. We rent this van, and we don't go from, like, New York to, like, L.A.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That looks like the quickest way from A to B.
Yeah.
We was like not A to B. We was like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J.
You did
like,
the whole alphabet.
It was the most ridiculous version of driving. It was like coming down south. You know, we're going first up from New York City up to like Niagara.
Oh, shit.
You know, coming all the way back down to like Orlando.
Shit.
Going
So you
over to
went,
like New
around and
Orleans.
everything.
We like came down to like New Orleans. Went to like Houston. Like drove straight up to like Mount Rushmore in South Dakota.
Okay.
Went straight back down like to Arizona to like the Grand Canyon and to Antelope and stuff.
That's some real traveling, real bonding.
Yeah, it was a lot of bonding. We got like 2 speeding tickets in random states.
Hey, it wouldn't be a trip like that if you didn't get.
Yeah, we did the most ridiculous things, and it just set up life and reminded us of like the true glory and purpose of like life and people and connections and experiences. And I feel like that cleansed the palate like a good piece of ginger in between sushi. You know what I mean? It's not like the meat itself, but at the same time, like it's everything. That's why you eat the
Okay,
whole
with
sushi
you and
experience.
Analogies, okay.
Is
it Anthony?
Super
Lee?
Asian ones though.
Yeah, super Anthony Lee way. But that's the moment for sure. I feel like that's a long drive, so it's
it took us like the whole trip was like 3 weeks. Yeah.
Holy shit.
But we knew when we came back, like it was on. Like there was no stopping from there. The second we had to do it for real, there was no stopping.
So after that, you guys kickstarted everything.
And haven't looked back.
What was the first thing for the brand? What was the first thing that when you guys came back that you handled business with? Like, was it like inviting the homies? Like, who's a part of the Kinjaz, or was it the logo? Like,
I mean, all of that was always kind of like in development conversations. I think we already knew, the very basics of like building a brand. We're like, what do we want? We got to get the social media handles. Yep. Oh, but what do we put as a photo? Yeah, we just got to get a logo. Yep. Oh, but like, where do people get redirected? Because we need to make some like passive income. So we got to design a couple of shirts. Yep. Like, but we haven't even fucking like, how do you sell that online? Well, I guess you got to make a website.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, it's like, how are we going to push that stuff? It's like, oh, well, maybe we need to have some sort of like consistent content creation model that is like communicative with the fans, and start building some sort of like standard operating procedure to how to stay consistent with that. Was like, now that's too much work and too much bandwidth for this many people, so we need to pull on either like crew members that like are capable or interested in doing these things, or like interns starting to figure out that infrastructure. I mean, when you're an entrepreneur, when you try to build stuff, it's joyous, but you run into every mistake in the book. You realize how dumb you are. You realize how unequipped school puts you to be successful for yourself. You know what I'm saying? Business 101. Here's one of the biggest fuck-ups we ever made.
Here we go.
We started kinesthetics. We started selling our clothing, online. We got the website up. My parents came over, helped build like cabinets in a garage just like this. We had just wooden shelves. Started putting shirts up and stuff like that. Like people literally sweating, coming in, printing out tags, putting them in fucking little USPS, envelopes, going to the mailbox every week, picking up, like just doing the whole thing and being like, yo, we're like making sales. Like this is a thing, you know what I mean? But nobody told us that when you sell shit in California, you got to charge sales tax for California. Otherwise, you got to pay the sales. And it's like, duh, you dumbass. But like, I dare you to do 1,000 things as an entrepreneur and pretend you're not going to mess up somewhere.
You're not going to think of that when you're like on the roll.
You know what I'm saying? Like you're trying to be an artist too. Like how are you trying to balance being an artist and being
I was going to say, you guys
a
are
business
just doing
person
it by
at the same
yourself,
time.
right?
That's hard.
You guys didn't have a business person or like a
not
manager at the time.
We was just figuring it out. So, by the end of the year when you got to redo your taxes and
you saw that number.
And then you got to pay for everybody's California sales tax out of your own pocket. And we're talking tens of thousands of dollars in tax alone. So when you think you did something, you're like, yo, we finally had a sick year. We finally accomplished something. And then you start off the next year and you're kind of at broke even.
Yeah. No profit.
It changes a man. You know what I'm saying? Like you some shit changes. So, and that's one of 1,000
mistakes.
Just things you run into as your own self-made. It's glorious. That's what I'm saying. It's glorious on the outside because you don't post about those fuck ups.
No. Yeah.
You just post about every single time you make it to the next little step. And eventually over time, people are like, oh, you made it this far. It's like, well,
there's ways.
You made it this distance.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily mean the stairs were like upwards the whole time. Maybe the stairs, they look upward, but really they're lying like this. You know what I mean? You're diagonally stepping every single time.
Oh, shit. No.
Yeah, so it's a journey,
Hey, but I think that's why, that's one of the reasons why we wanted to make this podcast is to have stories like this to show people this shit ain't just all the way up,
Yeah.
Like there's definitely roller coasters of times, and we're brand new to this shit too, and we're so young. We're noticing that too, business wise, and how to get these sponsors and money wise. Like it's just a roller coaster, but it's one of the reasons why we wanted to make this podcast and these stories to come to life. Really,
it took us. We did season 1 of the Kinjaz podcast, and there were 100 episodes in season 1, and even through the pandemic. And then when season 1 finished and we waited a while, it wasn't until season 2 that we got picked up and partnered with a sponsor.
Dope.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like a lot can go in where you're just investing on yourself
100%.
and trying to just do what you think is both like a dope version of your own hustle. Because, sometimes you got to do it to pay the bills. But also because you fucking believe in it, right? Like you like what you do. You like how you're doing it, the people you're doing it with.
100%. Yeah. Well, going to the podcast, we have a fellow podcaster in the building, and that's why it's so easy. It's cake to him, even though he's sweating right now.
It's hot in here.
It's a little hot in here. We in a garage.
We're in a garage.
But
I got thin skin. I wore a long sleeve for no reason.
Hey, but fellow podcaster, when was this idea brought up? Because like you said, you have so many ideas with Kinjaz, the noodles. We'll talk about even partnering with Nike, all that. But podcasting, how did that come about?
Yeah, so shout out to my boy Ben Chung, one of the Kinjaz as well. Super huge fan of podcasts. Always, had a vision. Always wanted to start one using the platform, using the Kinjaz name and stuff like that. We totally embraced it. For me personally, in my personal journey, I think you already know. I've always enjoyed. I enjoy speaking, right? Mm-hmm. And I have multiple outlets for that, right? Whether in the rehearsal room. With my own crew or leading a dance team, right? In the dance room as a teacher and educating on the stage to as a judge, writing words on a piece of paper to on stage as a host, right? I've always had a personality to be able to use the power of my words to, make some sort of either influence or make somebody smile for a second, you know what I mean? How foolish I am. So I've always had that. I was also consistently a guest during that era of a YouTube comedy talk show called Just Kidding News. I was always featured in some of their films back in the day, and then when they transitioned mainly to just doing a YouTube news talk show, satire comedy news, not real news, or real news.
It is real news.
But point is, I was always just kind of in that space, building networks as well, because that's half the game, especially in a podcast. You already know how it is, you know what I mean? So when it came to like revitalizing the podcast, bringing it back for, a new breath of fresh air with new partners for season 2, and we had closed our studio in the complex, we didn't have a spot anymore. I converted my second bedroom in my apartment to our podcast room.
No way. Okay.
And then I signed on to be the co-host, knowing that for anybody who follows our podcast, Ben is a very different type of personality and voice than mine. So it was a fun dynamic to switch it up. And then obviously I was also bringing on a lot of new guests from my networks that I built over the years, from my YouTube collaborations to talk show stuff and whatnot. And also in the season, I'm also now, instead of like a guest from time to time on JK News, I became a co-host as well.
Oh, sick.
And a regular. So, I regularly co-host that show. I'm like a committed member of that as well. And so ironically, through the pandemic, through both season 2 of the Kinjaz podcast and Just Kidding News, being a co-host, like suddenly, also because of the pandemic, I stopped traveling so much. So I used to be gone 60% of the year.
I remember,
straight up,
catch you
never in town, so suddenly I'm stuck at home, can't travel and teach, and life's just momentum.
There it is.
Next thing you know, right,
double-edged sword.
Just like that double-edged sword. Now I'm doing a bunch of other stuff that. The funny thing is, I think when people watch my dancing, if they only saw my YouTube videos and dance, like, how would you judge if you didn't know who I was and you just saw my routines? How would you judge me as a person?
Exactly.
Describe me real quick, Dylan.
Only as a dancer.
As a choreographer, yeah. If you had no understanding of who I was as a person.
Just quiet, humble, and to himself.
Okay. So I'm not gonna allow him to say the opposite of those words, like loud and whatever the fuck the opposite of humble is.
But you are humble in all ways. But
you get it. You get where I'm going with that,
right?
But
you seem like quiet, kind of not super like crazy, but when you.
So he's calling me crazy.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
I mean, crazy in a good way, bro.
Yeah.
It's always good.
But like that's the thing. Suddenly I got these other outlets to really still allow an actual and authentic side of myself to just come out.
100%.
You know what I mean? And let my powers of whatever that is flourish as well. So that's kind of a dope new development for me in terms of like it being consistent. I always did it in flashes.
Yeah.
I was always consistently hosting shows around the world and all that stuff. But once I was stuck at home, I still had that ability. I still had this thing that I'd worked on.
Yeah.
Now I just need to channel it somewhere.
And then and
all my homies too would always be like, "You be good on a podcast." I'm like, "You be good on a podcast."
Hey, but it worked out though.
So it worked out. I had a lot of fun.
I mean, that's why he's not a rookie right now. Like a lot of people, they wouldn't know how to talk like this and go on for as long as we're going on. But we here, and now we gotta talk about not future, but like what recently happened. I know. When we were trying to get you were working on the 88 Rising Festival.
Oh, yeah.
So how was that? I know you performed with
it was crazy.
Jackson Wang, right?
I mean, this year I think in general has been just like a really another level, I think we've been working so hard on also, especially for Kinjaz, being from our dance community. I'm going to go macro for a second, and then we'll get into like moments like that.
Yeah.
Always trying so hard to like pull up our culture and our peoples and our community,
100%.
Both internally changing the perspective of what's possible, and externally changing the perspective of like what's possible with us, what we can do, right? And that's always been a kind of an uphill journey. When I first started going out choreographing and teaching around overseas back in the day, you would only get like that credibility if you were like a tour dancer, or like a choreographer for like be like Janet Jackson, Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake. It would say the artist name, and then it would be like their choreographers come to teach this workshop, right?
And everything.
And then suddenly, in the social media age, we're starting to rep ourselves and our own style and our own stuff. It's like you didn't see this from like TV, you saw us and you liked it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you know what I mean. You wanted to learn it. Period. So just being able to constantly learn how to rep ourselves and try to just constantly do us, but elevate it, even going into things like Nike and just trying to move the needle, like have a first professional dance shoe be built. Obviously, and that's not the fucking answer for the dance world. Obviously, if anybody thinks it's like, oh, well, you see, like, no, like, but can you move the needle in your lifetime? Can you just be a part of a bigger thing? You know what I mean? And move it forward and change a couple people, hopefully important people's perspective. And I like to think if you got Tinker Hatfield to change his mind about dance, you maybe did something. You know what I'm saying? But getting even to where we were this year and what we were doing, like the idea of even repping as a dance crew in our name, not backup dancers, but being Kinjaz, even at places like Coachella, being on the lineup as a dance group. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are things that I think we would always try with our ambition and our dreams and our desires so much to get even past our vibes and body rocks and our no-hos and our, you know what I'm saying? 100%. Like, getting out of that culture and the industry.
Dance world.
Yeah, just the dance world, and being like, what can be done? And when you see nothing but, like, the biggest and brightest musical acts and stars of all time, like, where it's almost like, you know, going through Coachella is almost a rite of passage.
Yeah.
And now we're, like, on the bill, you know, as Kinjaz.
That's crazy.
On the live stream as Kinjaz, like, those are things that we were like, we never dreamed about this. As a performance, it's really hard, you know, and crazy. You're on a big ass stage, everybody's like on drugs and stuff. So that's besides the point.
Yeah.
But the notion, the idea of it. So then you go into places like 88 Rising, and you're like, okay, like, now, like, we're repping ourselves again. You know what I mean? We're doing this festival thing. But the crazy thing is with 88 Rising is it's Asian excellence is dominant there.
Yep.
Right? Unlike Coachella, 88 Rising is championing the Asian American culture. Asian excellence and culture. And obviously they've expanded beyond just Asians, and that's natural as long as it grows well. You know what I mean? We know the intention where it started. But the difference is you go out there and suddenly the sea of people there actually know who we are and really, like, are down. Like, people knew in Coachella. We would hear, you know, people scream and people. But at Head in the Clouds, it was another level. And that was a totally different, it just felt so validating and like we belong somewhere. Because sometimes all you want to do as a performer who's just, your constant goal when you're stuck in your head as a creative is just like, can I express myself honestly? And then the second part, the scarier part, is admitting, will people like it? And
like, be successful.
You know what I mean? Like, are people going to like it? No matter how much people, like, don't care what people... Of course people fucking care what people think. You know what I mean? Yeah. And if you care what people think, you care that they like it. Yeah. You know what I mean? If they don't like it, don't care what people think.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying?
That's when you don't care.
So... And that's just human nature, you know? So, like, just getting that feeling of being in a space that really was celebrating us was just powerful beyond measure. And then the next day, though... ironically, even with that show, though, we had no time. That's besides the point. No excuses.
No excuses.
The next day, though, we had a surprise performance with Jackson.
So okay. So let me clear this up for people too. So you guys performed just as Kinjaz.
Just as Kinjaz, yeah.
As the own lineup, no performers.
Yeah. Just as Kinjaz, just same thing. Repping ourselves as a dance crew.
Crazy.
On this stage with just megastars.
And it was a music festival.
It was a music festival. It's totally a music festival.
But you guys performed that shit by yourself.
Yeah. And you know, we just feel so blessed for, like, these opportunities, you know, and hope to rep well enough that, like, it provides more opportunities in the future for other people, you know,
100%.
for our culture.
That's wild. That's a big step for the dance world.
Yeah. And so the next day we do a surprise performance with Jackson.
Yeah.
Which is, like, so much more fun because, like, you know, when you just do a 4/8 count surprise pop out, it's like, no stress.
Yeah, in and out.
We're, like, drinking already, you know what I mean? In the trailer, nobody cares. Yeah, it's easy. It's easy, you know? But the cool thing is, obviously, he's the man. He's a brother of mine. Like, we've had such a long and deep and rich history for years now, in many countries, you know what I'm saying? Yep. Many projects, many TV shows, many music videos, many whatever, you know? And getting this opportunity where it all culminates, especially for him to truly break out into the Western audience as well and come out here and just do his thing and rap and just, like, kill it in, you know, American Billboard type stuff too. That's a big deal for an Asian artist, you know what I'm saying?
100%.
A solo artist at that.
100%.
So for him to do his thing, it was already so dope and just, like, amazing, and it was so inspiring for us, and we were so proud to see him, like, close the festival. And then for him to invite us out as well. Wow. You know what I mean? To be able to perform in the closing routine. And the crazy thing is, like, there was choreography in it was like 4/8 counts of dancing. This is how gangster he is, right? It's like 4/8 counts of dancing.
Yeah.
We rehearsed it. We never got on stage with him to, like, actually do it as a group. We just, like, learned it in a room and, like, let's pray for the best. You know, that's how it is sometimes. People think, like, a tour is all put together sometimes. Like, no, a festival is, like, what you can get done, you get done, you know? And so we get into like a quick tech with only half of us, because only half of us can make it, so last minute. And then he throws away the last 8 count of the 4 because he's like, no, I think we should like just do a Kinj bang. And we're like, dang, like this guy's about to just like end his whole, like we didn't suggest it. He's just ending his whole show. Right. And he's like tweaking it too. He's like, well, we throw the Kinj bang on one. He's like, no, actually, can you guys like grab it and like throw it at me? And then I come up and we're just doing this whole thing. But the funny thing they didn't know is because we had this like notorious bet, me and Jackson. He bet a long time ago. He's like, when I get like 30 million followers on IG, you have to make me a Kinja. But he said this when he had like 8 million followers. Damn. So like low key, I was kind of like, 30 million, sure, bro.
I mean, 8 million, goddamn.
You know, but like 30 million, I was like, come on, like you're speaking in like another, you're outer space right now, bro. Like, okay, you know.
Another timeline. That's another timeline.
But the funny thing is, like over the years, it would just keep growing. Wow. And he'd keep reminding me. He'd be proactive about this shit. Wow. Remember our deal.
Wow. He was
like 12 million. Remember our deal. 15 million. Remember our deal. 19 million. 21 million. Next thing you know, I'm like,
you got nerve.
This shit's getting real. I'm like, this is in our lifetime. Like, holy shit. And then he's chilling now. Like, at this point, we're getting ready for in the class. He's chilling at like 29.8 or something. Like, it's happening. It's not happening. Yeah. So we're like, there's no, and he's in America. There's no greater time for us to like honor this moment and be straight up. We have to be people of our word too. You know, we make a deal. You make a deal, you stick to your deal. You know,
you can't back out.
Except in America, you can't back out of deals. That's the funny thing. You got to get a good lawyer and fucking figure it out.
You just got to have that good money and the good lawyer.
Yeah, you just got the money. And then, so we get this custom jacket made. We take one of our like signature, like unique, like bombers that we don't even sell. We like take one of his Team Wang pieces because he does, clothing as well. And we're like deconstructing, putting things together, and making the signature one of one jacket for him. And after he gets off stage, we go back and we gift this to him, and we tell him, we ask him, we're like, hey, we formally like to invite you to join the crew. Wow. And this guy just drops to his knees, and he's like so honored and stuff like that too. So
he hit 30 million at the festival?
He didn't hit it at the festival. He hit it like the next like week and a half. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, this is inevitable.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
This guy's Thanos, you know?
Yeah. this guy's the snap. Damn.
So just like, again, constantly transcending even our own understanding of what Kinjaz is. Like, is it really a dance crew? Like, we got a dude who is a phenomenal dancer, no doubt, but like he's an artist, you know, first and foremost. And but I guess I should say first and foremost, we're just family. You know what I mean? We're all brothers. We're all close. So that's always been what it's been about, and that's what it still is.
So what does it take for? I know you says family and all. What does it take? Does it take someone to make a bet with you to become a Kinjaz?
Oh, well, he signed a 10-year contract and gave us like $30 million.
Oh, okay, got it. So you got to get $30 million.
Yeah, you just got to have money. It's America.
Okay, there you go. If you want to join Kinjaz, just send them an email how much your bank account looking like, and
cash out. We take cash out.
There it is.
Take crypto. Keep it off the taxes.
There it is. What is there a way, or is it more just family come along?
Oh man, there's always a way.
Because like you said, it's not even a team. It's like I feel like it's like a collective of amazing artists and people.
I will just say, like, I will never say no to life. You know what I mean? Like, anything is possible. Life has a weird way of working out. You know what I'm saying? In ways that you least expect, but in areas that you put your energy into. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The doors are never closed for Kinjaz. I don't think Kinjaz is like my generation. I'm gonna get old. I'm gonna stop dancing one day. But the idea of it is to keep doing stuff. Legacy. You know what I mean? There's like groups of Kinjaz that consistently are like performing at different events and whatnot that like I'm not performing at or Mike's not performing at.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It's always bigger than that, right?
Yeah.
So like that is always, I think, gonna be an open door element to Kinjaz. I think any dancer around the world, if they really, really wanted to, like I'm talking they really wanted to, I think they should believe that they have a chance. But it's not like, you know, here's A, B, C, D, E, F, G to the line. It's like one, you know, out of space, out of mind, out of fucking whatever, right? Like, if you're not there, out of sight, out of mind, if you're not around, like, how could anyone know who your dream? Yeah. If you want to do something, you have to put it out there. You got to let people know. You got to put that affirmation out there, and you got to take action, right? If you want to work with somebody, I even heard this on Bigger Pockets podcast this morning on the drive here, right? Talking about real estate, right? And they're just talking about the idea of like, if you want to work with like a bigger investor than you, if you want to work, and I'm not saying we're bigger than anybody, but if you want to work with somebody that you look up to or anything like that, and you want them to work with you too, you got to figure out how you add value to them. You know what I'm saying? You can't just know how they add value to you and then hope that you can be a part of that. Yeah. You got to show up and add value somehow, make it known. It's the basic way that people were trying to get booked by choreographers back in the day. Show up to their class, let them know that, one, you're present, you're working hard at it. Two, you smash their stuff and you're a dope personality to be around. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You take it seriously. Otherwise, they're not going to know you exist. Exactly. So, like, that's one of them. And it's not like you showing up how do I do this? How do I get something from you? It's first adding value. And you know what I mean? How can you, if I was a dance or as a dance teacher or choreographer, if I go into a dance class and somebody I don't know comes in and just murks my stuff and they're like, hey, after class, they're like, y'all, I've been training your stuff for like hell long. I like idolize what you do and stuff, blah, blah, blah. But they're not asking me for anything. Yeah, they're just kind of like, I'll see you at the next class.
Yeah, letting you know.
And they come again. They're consistent. They spend time. What do you think happens? Yeah, in my mind, I'm like, oh, I got to put together a skeleton crew for this K-pop gig. I'm like, all right, who should I hit up? Like, oh, this person smashes at my stuff and comes around all the time and shows me love and is willing to do this. I'm going to hit this person. I'm going to give them the gig because they're adding value to it. And I trust what they do because I see them kill it because they put in time. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like anything can happen. I think people just need to know that it's a relationship that you build. You know what I mean? We're not like a university you apply for. We're a group of people that stand by a certain code of conduct and like a code of just life. And we just hope to emphasize and support that life where people who come in, it isn't a necessarily a business transaction, right? It's like we want to know that that guy's got my back and he wants to know that I've got his or hers even, right? We got ladies in the crew now too. So it's like, and we even have people in the camp that aren't like crew because maybe they don't like dance and perform and stuff, but they're fam, you know, they're kin, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like at the end of the day, everybody just wants to belong somewhere. That's all we created for ourselves, just a spot to belong to.
That's dope. Man, guy right here. This is the dream. I feel like that is the dream. You created one of the dancer's dream, artist's dream, in my opinion, because that's how I feel like that's like a really community-based operation, like that community feel. Because me and Luciano,
shout out Luciano.
Like we even talked about it on his episode that's gonna come out soon. But I mean, I think it's already out. But by the time this is out, but we always talk about like, and you talked about it in the beginning how doing solo stuff sometimes is lonely and boring, and so having someone with you all the time and like that you can always like bounce off of or just work with all the time is like for me and Luciano has always been like the top on our list. Like doing stuff by ourselves is not the goal, and like creating that. So
that's so dope to hear you guys still rocking together like that too.
Still rock, bro. I'm gonna see him probably tomorrow or something. Like,
hey, tell myself what up.
I will. But like I think what you and Mike created with Kinjaz, I feel like that's why a lot of people resonate and like fuck with you guys is because people look for that, and you guys are honest, and like even starting with Ombu Black Ops is like you guys fucked around on stage and did.
Just trying to be honest, you know.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like you guys were on top of it. Like now, I feel like now like the social media age is like getting slightly saturated with that. Like everyone's trying to be like that now and like all that. But I think you guys like for sure in the dance were like kickstarted that. Like being honest is like the number one game to it.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that a lot. I won't take credit for it.
Hey, it's all good. You don't have to.
Because there's definitely, you know, people before us that inspired us, but I will appreciate that because just like I said about even like the Nike thing, we all just want to play a part. Everybody just wants to feel like they had a little bit of purpose. And, you know, like, yeah, sure, when I was a little bit younger, when I had more childlike wonder, I was like, yo, I want to change the world. The older I get, the more I'm like, yo, I just want to move the needle. You know what I mean? And just respect that, like, this world is crazy and complex and it's huge. And at the same time, it's so small and so delicate and so short of a time that we have to do something. You know what I mean? So
The world is a crazy place. It's big, it's small, it's this, it's
Yeah,
that.
it's everything. It's cruel, but it's beautiful, right?
Exactly.
It's soft and it's terrifyingly hard and stiff. But I mean, I think my boy Ben had told this story one time that he heard, I think from Will Smith. It's funny that Will Smith would say this. Everything is a wave. Everything comes in waves, right? Yeah. If you have a wave, ride that. And ride it as hard as you can. Don't give a fuck. Ride it. Because every wave crashes. And just as every wave crashes, another wave comes if you know how to ride it. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I feel like we had examples of that all the time. Maybe it was like YouTube was a huge thing. And, you know, you just get on a surfboard, you upload a video, you're like, well, I don't even know these people, but people are watching it. And then suddenly, like, ABDC or, like, TV shows, you know what I mean? Suddenly, this notoriety comes. It's not about, like, dance shows and classes. It's about, like, performing at, like, corporate gigs for brands and stuff, right? 100%. And then, like, a studio opens up and like, people start coming in. And you're like, oh, snap, this is a new wave. And, like, I don't know where it's going to go. Yep. But, you know, so and we've seen those waves fall off, too, in my own example. So I'm like, I see that now with time. With like wisdom, so to speak, and wisdom seems so glorified when you're young, but to have wisdom probably means you like got fucked up. You know what I mean? Like your ass got tore up. You know, the wisdom is bought with pain and experience, right? But you just recognize, oh shit, you're right. Every wave does crash, but so shall come another. You know, and I think if you get good at surfing, you'll be all right.
Hey.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It doesn't have to be that wave. That wave doesn't have to be perfect. You just need to get better at surfing. You know what I mean? And I think when you start looking at it like that, and I think that was a huge thing for Kinjaz. Internally, one of the things that we would always preach is that dance was never our destination. It was our vehicle. Dance was the thing that opened the doors. But the door is not the location. It's just the front of the house or whatever, right? So it's like dance would bring us to spots like this. Now I'm sitting here talking on a podcast. Dance would bring us to, you know, another country, and now we're building relationships and suddenly we're developing a show. Dance is bringing us to another partner, and now we're making noodles or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. That sometimes if you go far enough, it has nothing to do with dance later on. People be eating noodles and not having any idea who Kinjaz is.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, what is Kinjaz?
Kinjaz.
You know what I mean? And it's like that's part of it sometimes. Yeah. And just when you recognize that, when you don't get consumed by that 3 feet in front of you vision, and you really just respect the world and your minuscule and yet greatness in it. Yeah. Maybe you'll just, you know, let loose and just let life, you know?
Wow. I'm gonna keep that one though. The dance was the vehicle.
Yeah, and it still is.
No, for sure, and it definitely shows like what you guys been working on and everything. So, man, kudos to you guys. And now we gotta talk about the past. Talk about what happened a little bit ago. What's the future looking like for you personally? What you up to in the future? You traveling anywhere? And then maybe what's the future for Kinjaz that you can say? And this will come out in like 3 weeks.
I can say.
What's coming?
I think it's dope to say that there is stuff that I can't say. I think that's dope. I'm thankful for that. Thankful for a couple projects. Thankful that right now the momentum for even our dance app, something that came out of the pandemic later, you know, and after we had to figure out the noodles first because that was crazy. But once we finished figuring a lot of that out, we finally got onto our online teaching dance platform.
Sick.
And a part of it was like, oh, we could have caught the wave a lot earlier. And, you know, when you catch that, everybody's signing up for everything when dance studios close, you know?
Yep.
And the stupidest thing for Kinjaz is always so late to shit sometimes. We're early to a lot of stuff and we're late to a lot of stuff. But
you guys
we're like,
just busy. You guys
we'll just do our online platform now.
Yeah.
When studios start opening up again.
Perfect timing.
But it's been picking up, and
That's
also
dope.
like there's a beauty with like the online dance platforms, right? Especially for somebody who subscribes. It's like if you subscribed in the beginning, you got like XYZ amount of library, but that never goes away. So now that we're like many months in, it's like suddenly the library, what people are signing up for, seems so much more vast and profound, and the bonuses that we give them, the advanced stuff that we give them, all this stuff, right? So like now that community is suddenly that wave is starting to pick up, and that's really, really cool and exciting. And I can only imagine, like, especially with the new initiatives that we have developing, the new types of educational programs, the new classes, the new guests that we're bringing in, and the stuff that we want to do next year. I can only imagine that growing and being more fun.
Nice.
Imagine building like a Discord, but like for an online community of people that never could make it to the dojo because of the countries that they were in. But now they're learning from us, online.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're going to elevate the noodles. Can't talk about how, but just know that we're always thinking about elevating.
You heard it here first. Elevating that shit.
There's definitely some new collabs. Again, we're not just doing dance collabs. People have been seeing us do stuff with, like, one of TikTok's greatest, Just Michael, to like a Marvel superhero like Simu Liu, Shang-Chi.
I saw that recently. You guys did a collab with.
Yeah, it's dope. Just being able to network and kind of like go outside. And I know for the hardcore dance fans, they just want to see us get down sometime.
Yeah.
But we're gonna do that
For sure.
We definitely have some shows lined up that are like very, very dance focused.
Oh shit.
Like very dance stages. So we have to come correct.
Yes, sir.
What
about you personally? You traveling and you're teaching anywhere? You said you just came back from Europe.
Yeah, I'm traveling. I just started teaching again. I just started traveling and teaching again. I just started choreographing again. I feel like I had to like ride through a non-dance wave. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just as much as like
I've been there.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta just
I'm going through that right now.
You haven't been dancing at all?
No, bro.
When was the last time you danced?
Fuck, dude. Oh my god, I can't even. Oh, I performed with Vimo. Danielle Moulton's crew.
Oh, you're still doing Vimo? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vimo's dope.
I did. Oh my god, when was that? March, World of Dance. I think that was March. Last time was March with Danielle Moulton. She hit me up, said, "Come get down with the team," and I said, "I'm with it."
How do you know Danielle? By the way.
She went to OSHA. I know her. Orange County School of Arts. She was a senior when I was a freshman, and then I just saw her through all these. You know how it goes through classes at Millennium and all that.
So it's literally like that. It's just like I finally started picking up that momentum and start dancing again. So no doubt I'm probably going to get out and start teaching again.
Oh, yeah.
I got another wave of like convention that I'll have to go through. So I think that forces you to kind of get back into it.
Yep.
You know when you're like, I don't want to teach. And the second you get on stage, you teach first 8 count. You're like, I love this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's exactly how I felt performing with Danielle. I was like, I like went through all the rehearsals and then performed. And I was like, all right, I'm back into dance. And then filming picked up like with Luciano.
Yeah.
Doing like film stuff for artists and all that, and that picked up, and then I was like, oh, I love film again, and then we're like you said, I'm riding a wave as well, so I think that's the big message for this episode. And we got a question of the day. We didn't talk about it. What was one of the questions we did that was really good? We have question of the day. We do the money one a lot. What was the one? Yeah, take 2 minutes. It's hot in here. It's warm. What was the 2 minutes? Are we here? All right, we got question of the day. Had a little potty break, a little camera break. Question of the day. What was it? Oh, would you rather go without shampoo for the rest of the year, or for the rest of your life, no shampoo, or no toothpaste for the rest of your life?
What the fuck? Probably no shampoo.
Yeah, no shampoo.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I feel like there's other ways to get it in.
get this.
That's fair.
That's fair.
You might have some other stuff you can put in there.
But like toothpaste, I'm like, I don't know how many things I'm putting in my mouth.
Yeah, that's
you know
true,
what I mean? To get like it in.
I think this is from a movie or something. I heard something about mayonnaise as shampoo. It's not that bad.
Well, I've seen people on YouTube that are like, don't wash your hair, and once you get past like a certain period, naturally you're fine. And that could sound terrible too, maybe like dreadlock and stuff. But I also imagine, like, I don't know, maybe I enjoy some outdoorsiness too. Like I imagine just jumping in a lake and be able to wash your hair, and just or like jumping in a pool and letting chlorine kill bacteria beyond measure.
Okay.
But the idea of like what goes in my mouth to like brush, you know what I mean? I would assume that I would want to be like, I got that on lock.
Yeah,
I don't need no science for this part.
I don't need no scientific proven case for this one. All right. Well, what was the other one, man? It was the most obscure one.
That's
was it
boring ass question. Hook me up with something juicy.
The needle. The would you rather piss needles
The hell?
Okay, would you rather piss needles? Oh, there it is. Would you rather piss bricks?
For some reason, there's the needles have to be coming out sideways.
Yeah,
Okay,
it can't go
say
straight.
Say the question into the mic, though.
Yeah. So off camera, Mr. Mo said, "Is it rather piss bricks or shit needles?" And the needles, we try to have a loophole. The needles would go straight down, but it has to be sideways, so you get both ends coming out your ass.
You asked all the guests this?
Not all. I mean, I forgot what.
Specifically engineered this for me, huh?
Yeah,
He asked us. Yes.
Oh, someone asked us this question because we asked a boring one. So homie.
Oh, okay.
So
That's a juicy question.
not since you said that toothpaste one was.
I don't know
boring.
how y'all are hanging, but some of us, Southeast Asians, can't put a brick in our penis hole.
Hey, scientifically.
You know what I'm saying?
But
So I think that if it's not a matter of rather, it's a matter of physics. I think maybe needles might hurt, but it'll make it out.
it'll make it out.
I think the brick might disintegrate the dick.
It'll just completely destroy it.
You guys must have urethras of like, holy Jesus.
We gotta have proven case of this. We gotta have some type of evidence of this can be.
Yeah, so that's my official answer. Sideways needles out my asshole. You're welcome.
There it is.
There
Here
it
from
is.
Anthony
Clip
Leaford.
that. Somebody clip
All right, well that's the episode, man. Thank you again.
Always a good note to end on.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
exactly.
There it is.
Yeah, that's exactly how we ended on, man. Like we fucking no holds bar.
That's like my lady later. She's gonna be like, "Yo, how's the pod?" Oh, dude, you should have. The moral at the end of the story
No.
really gets you.
Exactly. You gotta wait for the end of the story.
Can't
man.
Definitely
fit
a
a
kicker at
brick
the end.
out my dick.
Definitely a kicker at the end. Exactly. Well, like we said, thanks for coming through, bro. Like, it
Hey,
means,
let me just. Okay, it's not about you anymore. It's about me.
okay.
Let me just
Sorry,
say before I end, because I drove so damn far, so now
Yeah,
I'm already
say
here. So
your
let's get
two-
these sound bites out.
Say your 2 cents, because I know you didn't talk enough.
Dylan's a good boy. He's a good man. I will do anything for him.
Oh my God.
He always, I don't know who I'm talking to. He always supported me. He was actually, I remember one time I was throwing a benefit show for Culture Shock Los Angeles. It's an hour plus long show. And I needed a child's voice to narrate to help carry the story through. So we'd show up to rehearsals and he would just be a kid who read this giant book with the script in it. Obviously from the inside, he could hold the script.
Yeah.
But from the outside,
It was-
just looked like a giant book to tell this story.
A little cheat code.
And I remember thinking to myself, he wasn't on Culture Shock at the time, but I remember thinking to myself,
I was on Mighty Shock.
You were. I was like, this dude pulls up, and he's a kid, and he's like, he believes in my vision. And this is my first benefit show, so this is a very large kind of creation for me.
We directed
But
it.
I told myself, I was like, this dude ever needs something from me in the future, I'm gonna pull up. So
This is one time. This is that ticket.
Yeah, so it's over now.
It's
so the
over
deal's
now.
done.
The deal's done.
Like I said earlier, I'm a man of my word.
The deal's done.
Every deal I put out there, I keep. Never hit me up again because
Okay.
it's too far.
You're
But
right. Okay, I won't.
good man. I don't know shit about Brandon, but he's got a nice smile,
He's here.
and I'm jealous of his facial hair because I can't do that.
Exactly.
That means so much.
I always
man.
wanted to be able to connect this shit,
How-
but I just look like a nut sack.
How long is this?
This right here,
How long?
this
it
took like
take
600 years
you? There it is.
to
Yeah.
grow. Okay.
I had a little scruff too. That shit took 3 years. I had to shave it off for an audition.
Again, it's not about you.
Okay, sorry.
But yeah, so just want to say thanks again for bringing me on the pod. For everybody out there, make sure you guys leave a 5-star rating. If you like what you see, share it on social media. That's how these guys are going to get visibility. Make sure you hashtag and tag them, all the good stuff. And as always, leave a comment. That's how everybody's going to really connect with this culture and whatnot. Feel free in the comments to also leave who it is that you want to see next time, or if you want an Anthony Lee Part 2. If you do that and get enough likes, I might come down again, but they're going to have to feed me. Other than that, you could buy my merch at kinjaz.com.
There it is.
You guys got shit to sell?
Hey, soon to be. We're trying to.
Another business mistake for these young ones. But kinjabangnoodles.com or on Amazon, that works too. Anything else we want to plug?
Hey, what's your at? What's your at for people
At
listening?
_, Anthony Lee _ or at Kinjaz, whatever it is. But that's besides the point. Thank you guys for having me here. It's a
Thank
lot of
you.
fun.
This means a lot. And like he said, comment, like, all that. Usually we have to say that, but he's a pro at this. We didn't have to do anything. And just wait for the next episode. Next week we got another banger. And we'll see you next time.
So next time.
Just do the damn thing.